Welcome to Jack's Rants, our series of smaller bonus episodes where I discuss recent IT and security news that has popped up locally and worldwide, which might not be enough material for a good episode, but nevertheless deserves a bit of insight. I am Jack Smith. Earlier this week, I was mingling a bit on an IT networking event, and it was one of those rare ones where you actually have the business side and the IT guys on one end, and then also had independent contractors and people from body shops around with both sides of the fence. Both sides came to me independently to talk and rant about the hiring market. And this is a summary of my findings and what I learned and what people have told me left and right. Currently, you could say hardly anybody gets hired in IT, and some major topics were able to be identified. First of all, and actually the one and biggest one, the current economic uncertainties which exist. Long story short, long-term budgets cannot be put together. First of all, there is the cost of everything. You don't know what your transport is going to cost. You don't know what your raw materials are going to cost. It adds a big and large question mark to what will be available when. On top of that, some countries have imposed import tariffs onto other, which are quite volatile, again making it very hard to define what your equipment will cost. Say you want to install a new warehouse with access points, or you want to renew an office with new switches or with new routers. You have no idea what these are going to cost. You know what they will cost today, but you will have no idea what they are going to cost when they get ordered or paid or delivered 2, 3, 4 months down the line. Those uncertainties make people just say, we'll wait a bit and see how it goes in 6 months. And what will happen in 6 months? Well, there is not a single or very few chip fabs which have capacity left for the next 18 months, because there is this thing called AI in the market, which everybody is jumping on like a madman, and if that is justified or not is not what we're going to talk about here. But there is no capacity left to make any new chips, to make any new hardware. So again, if you want an access point, in those access points are chips. If current stock runs out, there is no production capacity to make new ones, and starting a new fabrication plant will take years to become online, so you cannot do that. With these uncertainties, business is trying to save cost. What the contractors and the hiring managers from the body shops mention most and for all is that roles are being merged as a cost saving. Where you would have had an SDM, Service Delivery Manager, and a Scrum Master, some PMs separately, it is now being thrown into one big pile. So you have your SDM, Scrum, DevOps PM, Infra PM all combined into one, which is a position that basically in large corporations doesn't exist. You would have those 4 roles spread out over, 3 or 4 people. And today it needs to be merged into one, which is a different experience to have, because you must be a specialist of everything, and even a generalist will have no chance, because it might be a very good Scrum Master, but this Scrum Master might not be a good SDM or have zero experience in it, so therefore it is a hard thing to find merged in those profiles. Same story in the support world. I had a guy that had to interview for an IT lead and help desk lead and do third line support on some application ownership at the same time, and it would have been a plus if he could also take on the role as the service delivery manager for a few applications and departments towards the business, which is not something that is very common and not something that you can easily pull out of your head, not even when there is a white rabbit in there. And then from mainly some contractors that I spoke over there across the field, it was both from business PMs, IT PMs, developers, to architects, security guys, whatever you want. So if they do get an interview, it's really hard, because then what you have across the table, it's been described to me as Statler and Waldorf from The Muppet Show, and they are really in their tower in the big city and have no feeling with the local production facility. So this is more, of course, in a blue-collar environment, but there is no feeling with the technical side. It is like you're in a TV show where you have to answer the correct buzzwords, and then when the bell dings, you get to advance to the next round. Your experience and your way of working is absolutely not important. important. You just have to tick all the theoretical boxes to fit into the framework that was acquired from some expensive consultants maybe recently or a few years ago. But anyway, they are stuck it. If you do have a technical person in the interview from the employer side, quite often they don't really have a say or don't have that much to say. And I asked the same questions on the business side, like, hey, Mr. Statler, Mr. Waldorf, if you interview for any position, what's it like for you? What do you do? And first and foremost, well, we cannot find profiles we are looking for, which is logical because they are, as we said a bit earlier, they are throwing everything together onto one big pile. Good luck finding a delivery manager, a scrum master, a DevOps PM, an infra PM in one. Or same thing, good luck finding your IT lead, helpdesk lead, third line support doing some delivery management on the side. Really, good freaking luck with that one. So they are stuck, and then if they do find a good candidate that matches the job, they are more or less forced to go with the one that has the lowest cost, which does not guarantee you the best profile. And even then, approval to get everything hired and get every contact and every PO, if it is an external resource, that just takes forever. And then that is why from there on, almost nobody gets hired. As well, some guys were there that I knew for not a few years or even a few decades, and when they took me aside, they were asking me, is this my fault? As in, are they at fault itself for not getting any reaction out there? And yeah, no, I don't think it is. It is not the contractor's fault. It is what the market is right now. If there are any job postings and you submit something, there is any reaction or hardly any reaction, and also any contract that goes on the market. And now I'm talking a bit more about the freelance market, but body shops can also apply for these two agencies. You will see contracts being opened and closed and opened and closed on the fly with nobody getting hired. You will see a Scrum Master position come out on the market and you have to put in your candidacy in the next 2 weeks. After 1 week, you'll see it has been closed. It has been vanished from the publication website to be reopened 1 week later without any comment or any change, but you have to resubmit your candidacy to it. It gets closed again and then comes back 2 days later, and then you suddenly have to be not just a Scrum Master, but also a DevOps person and a DevOps PM and a delivery manager. There is absolutely zero consistency in there. And then if somebody does get hired, you see after 3 months, after 6 months, you see the same positions coming out back on the market again and again and again. So either the poster gives up and doesn't find anyone, or somebody does get hired, and because of all the things being pushed together and at the lowest budget, well, sadly, if you pay peanuts, you know what you will get. They hire the wrong profile, or somebody that is completely overwhelmed or was very good in talking their way through the interview, but once you get into the driving seat, it doesn't work, and they just after 3 months, well, don't come back in tomorrow. That is also what has been going on. And then we've touched it a bit earlier. The elephant in the room is AI at fault, because it's really easy to point to AI and say, oh, it's AI that is at fault. That's why nobody is getting hired. Well, yes and no. A few months ago, there was in the local news was a local professor made a very good statement saying that everybody is writing their resumes with AI. AI checks them, and as a result, nobody gets hired. And this then goes into, I think it's a famous quote now from an IBM training manual from the late 70s, that you cannot hold a computer accountable, therefore it should not be used to make an actual decision. And that is what you see here, certainly on the HR level, is that all kinds of toolkits, if you want to call them AI, yes or no, I leave it in the middle. They are making decisions, okay. I do understand that you get 100, 125 resumes in for a position, you have to do a check, but it is a blind check just looking for some keywords. And if you are really 100% checking on the keywords existing yes or no, well, yeah, people will start plastering their resumes with keywords in the hope that they just get picked. Plus, if you're not having the right search because you don't know what you're looking for, or you're putting everything together, you will not get the right candidates to pop up anyway. Another quote from more of a scientific podcaster, comedian, whatever, a good guy, he's called Lieve Scher, look him up. He made a quote that AI is an excellent intern and it does a lot of work, but you have to verify and validate everything that it does to make sure that it is correct. And that is where, again, we are today. In conclusion to this rant, are there contracts right now being put out? Well, yeah, not much. Let's be honest about that. It is a very, very difficult market. But there is work, and companies actually want to hire, but they don't get the budget approved, or they are forced to go with a lower budget and then get basically not a good match in whatever they are looking for. And of course, in the end, AI is not helping. This was Jack Smith. Have a nice day.
The content of this podcast is intended for entertainment purposes only and is meant to humorously explore various tech-related situations. Any resemblance to actual events or real persons, living or dead, is purely coincidental. We ridicule situations, never individuals or groups. Listener discretion is advised, and we encourage everyone to approach technology with a sense of humor and an open mind.